Hello Stampers, welcome to my channel. My name is Lori Staley, Addicted Stamper, and I'm a US-based independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Thank you so much for stopping by. Whether you're returning for another Make It Monday video, which I do every week, or this is your first time to my channel, I'm so happy that we're going to have a few minutes to stamp together this morning. Just a couple of quick things before I get started. If you enjoyed today's video and you'd like to see more, you can find me on Facebook, Lori Staley, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I am actually live there 3 times a week. Tuesdays at 2, I do a quick tip or a technique. Thursdays at 10, I do what I call coffee and cards. Grab your favorite morning beverage. Join me for a coffee break while I demonstrate a few cute cards. And then Sunday night at 8 is my Come Stamp Along With Me, which is like a mystery stamping event. And I put the supplies out for the 2 cards that we're going to be making that night in the morning so that you can gather them if you'd like to stamp along with me. And then we make those cards together at 8 o'clock. So be sure to check that out if you'd like to see more videos. The other thing I wanted to mention is I do have an ordering offer every month. Here's my website. You can order at that anytime. This is my current June 2021 hostess code. And when you place a minimum $25 product order on that website with that hostess code, you earn my Just Cards for the month. Now I do ask for postage to mail these if you're not local to me. Otherwise it's free with a porch pickup. And these are the cards that we are making in June. So as you can see, they're designed with a lot of DSP, a lot of maybe die cutting or punching, so that you really just have to add a greeting and you've got some really cute cards ready to go. So again, free with a minimum $25 product order and porch pickup. Otherwise, it's usually about $3.25, $3.26 for the postage. And you can place that order anytime right up until the end of the month. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to share with you this morning. Let me show you the card we're going to be making. Isn't this cute? I love this card. This is, of course, done with 2 different bundles that are in the current annual catalog. The first one is Seascape. This is such a fun set. Of course, you can see I got the seaweed out of there and the sand across the bottom. And then on the inside, I just did a thank you with a starfish. So the thank you came out of here as well. These dies are really unique. Let me show you those quick. So we have this big fish, which is so pretty when you make him in multicolors. We have the Seahorse, which of course, I used on this project. A couple of little fish, and then this beautiful coral, right? This is a great die cut. See, now, I need to fix something with that tape. Actually, I need to put these on my magnetic sheets. But anyway, this coral is a die cut. This is not a die cut. I'm going to tell you, and then you can visit my Facebook page, which I put that paper away. Visit my Facebook page, Lori Staley Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, to see how you can make your own stamps using your die cuts if you don't know. That's what I did with the coral piece. Let me pull that out and show that to you. Actually, I've done it with quite a few of our dies. So we have these amazing die sets that have these detailed dies in it that don't necessarily correspond with a stamp, right? We have the iconic dies, which you see quite a few of those here, that have no stamps to coordinate with them. They're all just really amazing dies. But I wanted to do perhaps the mushrooms as a stamp or the branch. Notice it's 2 tones because I've used that one hard already. This fern is beautiful, the flowers, etc. Well, I used fun foam, which you can get at any craft store, and sometimes even like the dollar stores have fun foam, right? And I die cut it, rolling it through the machine once. I mounted it on a piece of window sheet with some Tombow liquid glue. And then I took the leftover paper, right? Like the leftovers of one of these, and I cut it out to put on the back of the window sheet. And now this sticks to a clear block. Pretty cool, huh? If you want to see that in a little more detail, be sure to check out my Tuesday tip from last week on that Facebook page, Lori Staley Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, where I showed how to do the process. And then I also have 2 more cards on my Facebook page from Thursday's Coffee and a Card last week. So you can check more of that out. But we're going to use this today, so you're going to see how I make that. All right. And then the other set that I used, of course, is the Friends Are Like Seashells bundle. And that's where I got the You Are Unique and Completely Amazing stamp from. All right. Let me pull out some product here. So our card base is basic white. And I just scored that at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Looking for my bone folder. So we're going to give that a good crease. And then we have a layer of the Misty Moonlight. I wanted to say Midnight Muse, and I knew that was not correct. That I'm going to put on here. Now, I just noticed that I grabbed my Seal Plus. You do not need Seal Plus to make this project. You can absolutely do it with the regular seal. And trust me, I'm going to see if that's in my drawer, because that's not as evenly spaced as I would like. But yes, there's the regular Seal Plus. And then we're going to work on this piece. I'm going to pull in a piece of scrap paper, because we are, in fact, going to do some sponging, not sponging, but we're going to use the blending brushes on this. So I have got my blue. I mark them on the back with a little tag. I use them for the same color family. So all my browns, all my blues. I think the only difference is I have a separate brush for the reds from the pinks. And I also have 2 separate pink brushes, because the bright pinks and the more muted pinks, like the Blushing Bride versus the Flirty Flamingo, don't go real well in the same brush. You can absolutely wash these brushes out. No worries there if you like to do that. You do have to let them dry, right? And you try to find a place that you can balance them so that it dries, so the water runs down and not like back into the base of the brush, because that can cause the bristles to splay. And you don't want that. You want a nice, smooth, and tightly grouped brush head. So I'm using Pool Party. And I'm not as worried, since I'm creating an ocean scene, to have a completely blended background, right? If I have a couple of pockets here and there of a little deeper blue, that's good for me with an ocean background. So we're gonna just get the blue finished off here. And of course you can make it as dark or as light as you want to. And I think that looks pretty good for our blue. We're going to bring in some crumb cake to mimic the sand spacing. But I do love these brushes. You get 3 of them in the package. I think they're $12 for the 3. So worth it. I have customers who could never blend before, no matter how much we worked with sponges or sponge daubers. They love, love, love these. And so do I. So much so that I think everybody loves them, because they are on back order. So my sand here is going to be a little bit darker than on my sample card, but that's okay. It will work out just fine. Before I close that, we're going to grab the sand stamp from the Seascape set. And we're going to ink that up and just stamp that across the bottom here. All right, so there is the ocean floor. Now let me show you how I did this stamp that I created using the die cut and the fun foam. And you can ink this up with ink pads, you can ink it up with markers, it doesn't matter. You can even off stamp these stamps. I tend to use the white fun foam, because for me, it's easier for me to see on white that I've gotten most of the color off. It's going to stain the stamp. You know, we have inks like Stays On and sometimes even Memento that currently stains our stamps. It's not a big deal. It won't transfer on the next image, but you do want to clean it in between. And the best tool I have found to clean these is the chamois, right? And then that was Calypso Coral. I'm going to come in here with some of our Pale Papaya, which of course is one of our new 21-23 in colors. And I did do this backwards from the way I would tell you to do it. I would have started with the Pale Papaya because it's the lighter color. And then if I went over that with the Calypso Coral, there would not be any problem because, of course, I wouldn't put the light color wouldn't go into the dark marker, where here, if I'm touching the Calypso Coral, I'm liable to pick some of that color up with the stamped image, or with the marker tip. So now we're just going to put this on here and bring it right down here. Pressing all over. And there we have a beautiful stamped image where we didn't even have an option for a stamped image. I'm going to grab my chamois and just lightly go across that. You hear it squeaking. But you can see that I can tell now that most of that ink has been removed from that stamp, so I'm not going to have to worry about it bleeding onto the next image if I choose to color it in something other than the coral and the Pale Papaya. We are going to grab the Seaweed from the Seascape set. I really do love that Seascape set. You can go ahead and stamp some of that in Evening Evergreen. And of course, I'm off stamping. I always tell everyone, you know, when you're creating backgrounds or that type of thing, you want to off stamp so that you have a little bit more interest. It doesn't look like you just kind of stamped something right in the middle. Now, before I put the greeting on there, we're going to work on the Seahorse. So let me grab him. So this is a really cool die. And if you haven't seen how this works, let me show you. So I'm going to die cut this. Now my die cutting machine sits right here to my left. So I'm just going to run that through quick and I will come right back to you. And here is the die cut. So I've got a couple little pieces here that hold it. Can you see that? That holds that into our paper that we cut it from. Very easy to release that. We're just going to grab our paper snips and come in here and just snip away those little pieces. I think there's 4 spots. You do have to be careful that we don't snip away any of the actual die cut image. This is the toughest one right here, and even it's not impossible to get to. And there we go. So there is our beautiful Seahorse. Now, of course, he's white. The one on our project is pink, right? So we are going to blend that with the blending brush. Let me grab my light pink. There we go. And I'm just laying him on another piece. I could absolutely do him on the back of my, on my grid or scrap paper. But if I do this, I may end up with a section on the background paper that I can actually use with another die cut and give them a different color inside. Oops, don't bend him. That looks pretty good. So I went a little bit crazy there and I'm outside, but I still might be able to overlay a piece on top of that and use that for the inside. We're just going to finish him off here. And the other thing that I do is I cut a dummy one out, right? And as you can see, this is my template. I cut off all the spiny parts around the outside of him because what I really want is the piece that's going to go on the inside to give him a different color coming through his body. Now I opted for shimmery white today, but does that make sense? So if you just cut off all of this, you don't have to cut in between here. You really just need to worry about cutting around his body and his little head. And then you get this beautiful piece that you can lay inside and change whatever color he has. Okay. So let me go ahead and grab my Tombow. And I'm just going to put a little bit of Tombow on here. Different places. Doesn't have to be 100%. I definitely want to make sure his little tail stays down. Seahorses can be any color you want to make them, which is really, really fun. And the best point of using the Tombow is you can slide that if you don't get it perfectly aligned the first time. And then I can just cut this little piece off down here because we don't need that because the tail is solid. So there's our seahorse. And again, that shimmery white that I used on the inside just to add a little bit more sparkle to him. And that's hard to see on camera, I know, but it is very shimmery here. Let's go ahead while that dries just a little bit and go ahead and do the inside of our card. I'll bring back in my starfish. And we're just going to do one of those down here in the corner. And that Misty Moonlight for our thank you. And hopefully this goes straight. That looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna lay that over here. We're gonna go ahead and bring this in. So I am going to mount him on with dimensionals. And he's big enough that I can use the larger dimensionals. And I've got some pieces and parts here we're going to put down for his tail. Get those backings off. I have lines, I don't know if you can see that, but I have lines across the back paper on the dimensionals. And I do that so when I am creating, I can easily tell if I've pulled the paper backing off the dimensional or not. Sometimes we forget that and we keep trying to pull something off that isn't really there. All right, so I have done the starfish for the front of the card. And I just stamped that in crumb cake and then I sponged that as well to give that a little bit more depth. And we're going to put that on with one dimensional. Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and mount that to our card. And then we'll add our embellishments. Sorry, I had to grab I left my embellishments on the other side of the table, so I had to grab those. Before we mount that, and boy, we sure hope we get this straight, right? Because we do need to stamp the greeting. And usually I will tell you to do all your stamping first before you mount your pieces. So part of me is tempted to put this in here at an angle just to be safe. What do you think? Kind of like that. No, we're going to try it. I'm stamping away from myself too. Hopefully I'm still in camera, but that's always a challenge as well. Fingers crossed. Oh, I think that looks pretty good. Looks pretty good to me, guys. All right, so now we'll flip that over, bring back in our seal. That's my trick. Are you seeing that? When I use the seal, if I remember to do a little bit of a kickback, it always breaks the tape on the nose. And then when you go to do the next project or the next layer, you don't have any issues getting it to start. But oftentimes I get going and I forget to do that kickback at the end. So maybe that tip will help you guys. All right, so there is our beautiful card front, and now it just needs a little bit of embellishment. And I chose the Elegant Faceted Gems to do that with. And I love my Take Your Pick tool. It's the best for doing this. So I am going to use one of the light pink, and I apologize, I don't remember if that's Blushing Bride or Petal Pink. And then we're going to pick up some of these larger ones and just add a few accents. We're going to do 2 of those. And then a smaller one down here by his tail. And I'm using the frosted white for this. You could absolutely use the clear as well. But there's our card, guys. And we created our own stamp. So again, check that video out on my Facebook page. Give me a like, a thumbs up, whatever, when you're there, as well as on this video down below. I would appreciate that. And you can see how we actually made those stamps, but they are great. And that just broadens the number of stamps that you can have in your craft stash without spending, I don't know, I think a 12 by 18 piece of fun foam was less than $2. So I hope you give that a try. I hope you check that out. If you did like the video, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to make your first stamp out of with fun foam. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And then you can ring the bell so that you're notified the next time I load a video. Have a fabulous day. And I hope to see you next Monday for another Make It Monday. Thanks. Bye.